Hey people, this is Charles Cormier. We have Chief Mark Corona with us for another Founder Wisdom Pod. So, found the guy on a platform called Matchmaker.fm. Had quite a different profile. Has the glasses, as you can see, and all. He's a border patrol agent. We're gonna talk about that and what he's up to nowadays. This podcast is brought to you by podper.com. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start an AI podcast in 2025, I can help you do that. You can go to podpire.com. You'll find ebooks there. They're free on Kindle and a masterclass if you want to go fast. So podpire.com for that. Mark, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Well, my friend, obviously, my name is Mark Corona. We say Chief Border Patrol Agent of a country called Slowjamistan. And my job is to basically keep our borders, imaginary borders, secure around Slowjamistan and make sure that we enforce all of our very important laws.
So tell me about Slowjamistan.
It's a great little country. It's a little quirky country that we started back in 2021. My best friend and I, he had traveled the world. His whole dream was to travel every single country in the world, all 193. It's exactly what he did, from the safest to the most dangerous. Calls me up one day, and just to give you a little bit of background, him and I go back since we were 18 years old. We've done dumb things, stupid things, some illegal things. And so he calls me on his last trip and he says, I got an idea. He says, I want to start a country. And I remember at first I thought to myself, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said, let's do it, man. Because it's dumb, I'm in. Let's make it happen. So we started concocting these ideas and we kind of put the country together. And we really didn't know where it was going to go or how it was going to be received. It really only started with two giant signs in the middle of a desolate desert, and people just gravitated to it instantly, and it just exploded from there. And people just started coming in to register as citizens and becoming a part of Slowjamistan. And then CNN came along, they broke the news, and then they've kind of put us on the worldwide map, and then everything just took off right from there. So it's been quite the adventure, to say the least.
And where is Slowjamistan located precisely?
So it is a real place. So for people that wonder, is this even real? Because we get that question is always asked. Is this a real place? We're like, no, it's a real place. It's 90 miles south of Palm Springs, California. It's in between Palm Springs and El Centro, California, which ironically just happens to be right by the U.S. Border Patrol station. That was not done on purpose. We had no idea they were so close to us until one day we rolled out and we're like, hey, the U.S. Border Patrol is there. So yeah, it was just a pure coincidence.
And what's the goal with that? Where do you want to bring Slowjamistan?
I think at the beginning it was we had different ideas, but because it's morphed into something a little bit different, this is Slow Jamison is like a business. We treat it like a business. We have all the makings of a business, but I think the goal with Slow Jamison has now become a more in-depth goal. Now it's all about unity, inclusivity. It's about bringing people from all over the world together to share in this satirical nation, the silly things that we do that bring us together. When we can have someone in Japan be a part of Slowjamistan here, in the U.S., that's an amazing thing. And when people join us because of what we do, it's even better. And what we are known for, the most important thing we're known for is really the laws that we have. Our number one law in Slowjamistan is we do not allow Crocs. And if you're familiar with that shoe, the Croc kind of looks like a Swiss cheese looking shoe. Yeah, we do not allow Crocs. And that's sort of what brought everybody together. And Crocs, like no Croc ban, became the most famous part of Slowjamistan. And now that's what people know us for. So when they come to Slowjamistan, they already know not to wear Crocs. They're all about it. And that little silly law, believe it or not, has really caused a lot of inclusivity. And from people from all over the world to be able to come together, no matter your background, no matter where you're from or what you do, we all come together in this one small little country to share all these satirical things that we do. It's awesome.
And what do you think about people that are seriously like building countries? Like there was one in the middle of the ocean. I want to build my own real country in like 20 to 30 years from now. I think like most countries are BS nowadays. They have laws that just like don't work, outdated electoral systems and so forth. What do you think of these more serious countries and people that want to build them?
Well, if you're talking about people that want to build satirical countries or just countries on their own,
No, a real one, a real one, like a real country on an island, let's say, or on Mars, like Elon that wants to colonize Mars and build some
ah,
sovereign place there.
sure. Going back again to what we did. We did it for different reasons. I think it all depends really on what your reason is. What's your reason behind wanting to start? If you wanted to start a real country with real laws, real law enforcement, things like that. I think it really depends on what that person's motive is. Is the motive a positive one? Is it a negative one? Is it in the middle? I guess it really, depends on that. But there are other countries that have started out there, like micro countries or micronations, as they call them. A lot of them are online. They're not really, real places like we have ours. But the one you're mentioning about the ocean one, I discovered that probably less than a year ago, and I think there's actually a movie. I think there's a movie that takes place on there where they kind of were inspired by that country that's on the water, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. But yeah, I mean that's really my opinion. If somebody really wanted to start their own country for real, hopefully it's for good reasons, good motives.
How do you monetize Slow Jamistan?
There's different ways that we do it right now, and this is always evolving. One way is that we've done is we've sold states, and we allow, for example, let's say you, Charles, that you wanted to buy a state in Slojamistan, we would sell you that state, and then you would be responsible, and you would be the governor of that state, but then you would be responsible for making sure you're marketing your state, you're bringing people into your state, and basically, think of it like any other country, right? You got a state, and you've got government within that state. You would be doing the same thing. The other way that we monetize is we have citizenship. We have some that are free. Then we have some that you can actually pay for, where there's some tiers and there's some little bit more benefits to go with it. And then whatever other way, I think it's always evolving. I'm sure there's other ways that we could, monetize it. But let me first say this: it was never really built to monetize. It was really built to just have fun. It's turned into this through I should say through no fault of our own.
But you have the Porder Batrol truck that you invested in. Was that like a sunk cost or?
Yeah, so actually we have more than that, and I'm glad you asked about that. We actually have a real fire truck. We bought a
Yeah.
fire truck, and it says where the hose at. If you get that joke, you get it. If you don't, you don't. we we bought a real police car. We actually found a real fully loaded police car, and we changed it into the Slojamistan Police Department. And then my truck, I already had the truck. And my friend and I, we were kind of trying to come up with ideas whether we should go buy a border patrol truck, and then we were like, it makes more sense if we turn my truck into the Porter Batrol. And for your viewers and listeners right now, it says Porter Batrol. I don't know if later you can show a picture or not, but when you read it at first, if you see me going down the road, down the highway, and you see the truck, you're going to see, there you go, there it is. You're going to think it says Border Patrol. Sometimes you have to look two or three times before you realize it doesn't say Border Patrol on it. So that's me with my tactical uniform when we're in the land. That's me there for. I got somebody with eating string cheese the wrong way, which is one of our laws. You have to know how to eat string cheese. Which, by the way, Charles, how do you eat your string cheese, my friend?
I don't eat it because then I have to go to the toilet. So you won't be able to arrest me. My follow up to that is like, how do you train to physically arrest these poor souls?
How do we train? Our training is self-taught. So we train ourselves. We try to do the best job that we can, and I think so far we've done pretty good because people are following the laws. We're making they're making sure they're not wearing their Crocs. They're making sure to eat the string cheese the correct way. People know about our speeding law in Slojamistan. I don't know if you know about this. We don't allow speeding in Slojamistan unless you've got tacos in the car. Because Charles, let's be honest. What's fun about soggy tacos, my friend?
I
Absolutely
don't know.
nothing. Exactly. Never
There you
met someone
go.
who says I love soggy tacos.
Right, right. That's a good law, actually. So taking notes here. I want to ask because yeah, you seem to have strong hands. That seems to be the key to the arrest. You know, like you touch the suspect and the victim a lot. Maybe you even squeeze them or something. Do you like use these hand trainers like I do?
I learned a lot
These
from
grips, you know?
absolutely. I learned a lot from a show called Star Trek. It was called The Spock, and you basically just grab somebody by the neck and you just take them down that quick. So that's where some of my more official training came from.
Oh, that's great. Okay, shifting gears here, you're also like a trivia host.
Mhm.
So is that how you make your money as an entrepreneur? Like that is quite the niche.
That is correct. So the actual job that I do, I am a national trivia host, and in some cases international, really, because we're also out in Mexico. That's exactly how we monetize, or I'm sorry, not monetize. That's what my business actually is. We provide entertainment, and really we use it more for like retention purposes. The way that it was designed, it was to retain not only our customers but our customers' customers, and we do that for bars, restaurants, corporate clients, people like that. But we have a very unique story behind it, if I may tell you a little bit about it. We're the only ones in the world that do trivia the way that we do trivia. It's like a TV game show. It's the best way that I can describe it. If you were to walk into one of our bar or restaurant locations, or one of our corporate clients was to get our game, it would feel like you're watching a TV game show, but except the difference being that you're interacting with that TV show. You're interacting with that game show. So pretend that you're at home and you turn on your TV and you've got our app and you're watching this game show. You can actually answer your questions right from that app. And that's kind of how this whole thing works. And no one else in the world is doing it. We're the only ones up till now that are doing trivia in a TV style game show. Compared to everybody else who still does it live, little Mike, and kind of mellowed out, but ours is high energy, exciting, and of course, I'm the host. I'm the host of the game.
Your thoughts on satires and humor, I feel it's a moat in the AI age because AIs aren't really funny. By creation, they can't like step out of the boundaries, which is essential to be funny, right? So tell me about humor in business and the potential moat it can have on AI, the AI age.
I don't know about AI as far as when it comes to humor with AI. I know I've tried it before. I think I'll have to agree with you. It's not as good as it could be. So I think that human humor is still more important than AI humor. But how that plays in business, I think that when you bring humor, listen, humor is subjective, right? You can be what you think is funny may not be so funny to somebody else. But I think if you do some kind of humor in business, I think it's good as long as you keep it light. I think it's good for not only the customers, but also good for employees as well. I mean, look, we use it a lot in our business, not only with Slow Jamistan satirically, but we use it in the trivia company as well on the lighter side of things, right? To make people chuckle a little bit, or to make people smile, a little bit. Those are the things that keep people interested in what we're doing, and also feel like they're part of something.
Right, because I'm bullish on humor. I still have some potential concerns over it. I think, generally speaking, people need to laugh more in business. People need to have more fun. Everyone's so serious. And when you're pursuing intellectual endeavors, you get so serious about things that when people even tell jokes, sometimes you don't get them because you're like so ingrained in reality, right?
Sure.
But I would say that the downside to that, for example, on your website, you have goal setting, retention, and nation building. I'm not sure if this is a satire or not. Do
Mhm.
you often feel that people get confused with your content about what is serious and what is not?
Not as often as I would think. Most people, and how can I say this? Most people that have some grain of intelligence understand that we are, the difference between satire and the reality of things. When I'm talking about customer retention, when I'm talking about employee retention, they get that. Maybe the gray area might be nation building. But that gray area could also be curiosity, right? And you might want to click, what the heck is nation building? Nation building, really, when I talk about that, it's really applied to business. Building a nation is like building a business. When you start a country, it's like starting a business. All the same principles are there. It's the same thing. But going back to your humor in business, one thing we have in our company is this: if we're not having fun, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Can't be
good.
that
It's
serious,
like
man.
passion before profits, right? But a lot of people say the other way around. I had the podcast guest last Friday that was profits before passion, and I also started in business with something that I didn't give a fuck about, which was
Mhm.
building ads for realtors. And that was pretty horrible. That got me to 30K MRR at like 19 or 20 years old, which was pretty good, but it didn't scale, right? So what would be the strongman argument against passion before profits?
I think I like what you say there because you make a really good point. These are things I've thought about just over the years, conversations I've had over the years. It's obviously an opinion more than it is a fact. To be honest with you, um, I did the same thing as you. I remember I was building websites at one point for companies. I hated it. I thought I was going to love it because I like to build my own website. And I realized, yeah, this is more of a personal passion than it is more of a business thing. And I gave up on that. I said, yeah, this is not, for me. What I realized though, the takeaway, what I realized from that was this: you don't necessarily have to be in love with what you're doing. You don't necessarily have to be passionate about what you're doing. You just have to like it enough to know that you can get up every day and do that job. If you like it enough, you'll be good at, you'll be fine. And you also have to be good at the job at the same time. Now you're asking profits before passion or passion, before profits. I think in my experience, in my opinion, in my experience, um, I don't believe in profits necessarily first, only because if your team does not believe in your mission and what you're doing, profits will never be there. You'll always be suffering, or you'll always be looking for another customer. People have to believe in the vision that you have. Again, in my opinion, believe in the vision that you have to be able to draw in those profits, right? Once that, it's kind of like when I talk about employee retention. If your employees don't believe in what you're doing, they're not going to stick around. And you're just spending more money trying to bring in another employee instead of keeping these people for the long term, right? So you have to have passion, at least for the mission, to be able to drive profits. Again, everybody's business is different. Everybody's thinking is different. And I respect everybody else's opinions. That's why I say strongly, it's only my opinion. But I do believe that you have to have a drive first before you can get to profits. You have to believe in the product or service you're offering before you can get to profits. And not only that, you have to find out, is there a demand for what you want? Is there a customer base for what you want? Right? One thing that somebody told me once: you can love underwater basket weaving, but if there's no customers for underwater basket weaving, it doesn't matter how much you love it. You're never going to sell it. If that makes any sense. I love that when I was told that. I'm like, that's a great way to look at things.
Right. And what about the podcast? Is it more passion than profits yet? What's your strategy and plan with it?
As far as my podcast,
Yes.
yeah, with my podcast, I'm going to go back to what I was saying. I had to like what I was doing because, let me be honest with you, I had done a few podcasts prior to the one I'm doing now, which is the Passport to Success podcast, um, and I didn't like them. I wasn't into them, and I failed. I just wasn't into it. I'm like, this just isn't working, and so I gave up on them. The Passport to Success podcast, I approached it differently. I am not interested in making money with it, is the first thing I told myself. Okay, this is not about making money. This is about providing some sort of value to the person on the other end. If that turns into some profitable business, fantastic. If it doesn't, and at least my podcast at least drives me to a client, I'm even happy with that. If it never gets me a sponsorship, that's okay. But if I'm providing some kind of value to the person listening on the other end, that's more important because that gives you the opportunity to profit down the road. But for me, it's value first, profit second.
Yeah, I agree with that. I made video not so long about that. That's why I started my podcast, was to give out value out there. I felt I wasn't
Mhm.
contributing to the world enough. But then I'm a money person, somewhat ultra capitalist or near that end. Well, I love seeing AdSense money come in. Even if it was small, then I saw sponsor money and I saw leads converting guests into clients for my podcasting agency. So that was definitely the solidifier. There's
Sure.
always a starter and a solidifier if you want, or a scaler. Want to finish up with that because yeah, it's worth mentioning. Like, you do a lot of things on a daily basis. You have the country thing, you have your businesses, you have the speaker, you have the trivia stuff. So what does a day in your life look like?
Interesting. Talking about a speaker, yes, I'm also a international speaker. I go out and speak on a couple of different things. I speak on retention. That's my main topic. Another topic I speak on is goal setting. For people that are trying to kind of find their way and things like that. And it just goes back to what I was just saying earlier, that you got to like what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to do a good job with it. But a day for me is, I really focus a lot on, and as cliche as it sounds, and I hate sounding like that, but I have no other way of putting it. But I really, when I'm working on things, I'm always asking myself, is this going to provide value? So all day, this is what I focus on. Anything I do, whether it's preparing to do a speech, if I'm going to do a trivia game, for a new client, if we're going to do something with Slow Jamistan, including the people I work with, my best friend, my business partners, we all think the same thing. Are we providing value? That's our day to day. As I'm working on something here right now, and I'm like, okay, is this value? Do people care? Is this going to make a difference or not? Those are the things I focus on, and that's honestly my day. As soon as I start working, and whether I'm writing a blog, whatever I'm doing, that's my day right there. Is looking to make sure that I'm providing some kind of value professionally. Outside of
So
that, I'm
so
trying
do
to work
you,
out and lose weight.
yeah, that's good. Talking about losing weights, like I did my goals yesterday.
Ooh.
Do you check your goals on a? Yeah, I'm a bit late, by the way. It's 9th of December, so it's monthly goals, right? So do you check your goals list often? Do you separate your goals? Because my top tips in goal setting, because I've been geeking on that for the past decade as well. First is, like, I think you need to combine a lot of advice in various disciplines, whether it's a 12-week year, whether it's a motivational theory of everything, whether it's moonshot goals. But yeah, nowadays I'm using AI to build these goals as well. I like to simplify them quite a lot. Not sure if you'll be able to see, but there's some things in bolds,
Love
there's
that.
some emojis.
Yes.
It's well separated so that my brain can immediately identify what to do. I asked GPT to make them smart, but to me, smart doesn't motivate me as much as moonshots, for example. So, like, give us like your quick advice on goal setting and on what your actual monthly goals look like.
I would love to. I would love to. Let me tell you how I approach it. There's a couple of ways that I approach it. One, I love your list, by the way. That's good that you have a list of things that you want to do. What I tell people when I give the advice, or people ask me for advice in goal setting, this is what I always say. It's great to have a list. That's fantastic. But prioritize that list. What's number one on that list? Okay.
Right.
Whatever that is, that should be the only thing you focus on. Everything else doesn't matter. Until you achieve that goal, you should never move on to the next one. Because what
True.
happens, and this has happened to me, what happens is that when you start focusing on too many, I consider that counting calories. And counting calories is exhausting. It's a pain in the butt. I don't like doing it. And I don't know most people that like counting calories. When you have too many goals, you're counting too many calories. You're trying to burn off too many, and you're not going to burn them all off at once. You have to, just like in working out, you have to focus on which areas to work on, before you can get to the ultimate destination. That's the way I see goals. Goals is choose your main one, focus on that one. And until you achieve it or you realize it's just not going to happen, then move on to the next one. Otherwise, what happens? You start to chase shiny objects. I'm not a fan of chasing shiny objects. And I tell people this, and I'll leave you with this on goal setting. I treat my goals like a navigation system. when I put a goal in my an address into my navigation system, I'm 100% certain it's going to take me to where I need to get. Now, sometimes it might take me to the left, to the right, up a hill, or I might get stuck in traffic. It's the same thing right here. This is my navigation system. When I put a goal into my navigation system, I trust that my navigation system right here will get me directly to my destination. But like the real thing, I may have to go left, up a hill, to the right, or I might get stuck in traffic. And I might get stuck in traffic for hours, for days, for weeks, for months, even years. And I've been in traffic for years, but I still got to my destination. I still got to that goal because I was only focused on that one address in my navigation to get there. Once I got there, I put in the next address into my navigation. Where am I going to go next? That's why I treat goals, because it keeps you focused on one at a time and not 10 at a time.
Right. Well, Mark, thank you. But before I let you go, let's end this in controversy. So the border patrol thing in the US, for many, it's a serious topic, like a
Sure.
bunch of Mexicans. Are
Sure.
you there? Yeah.
Yes.
And so what is your take on that? Is there a better solution than building a wall?
You know, again, we'll go with opinion. I don't ever like to get political, and I'll try to make this as light as possible. But you did say controversy, and sometimes I do enjoy controversy. First of all, people assume, and I'm Mexican, and people assume it's all the Mexicans that are crossing the borders, which is just not true. It's just not true. They come from all types of countries, from Honduras, from Cuba, you name it, from Ecuador. They come from all over the place. So it's not just, the perception is, oh, all these Mexicans are coming over, and it's not. But to answer your question, as far as do I think a wall is better? I don't know if my solution is a solution that could ever be used, or maybe it's the dumbest thing I've ever said. And if it is, I'll own it. What I see is this. Here's what I see. Why not take the people that are already here? They're here illegally, make them legal, make them pay back taxes for all the taxes they didn't pay for the entire time that they spent here. If you're here for 5 years and you owe 5 years of back taxes, and bring that money into the economy. Instead of spending the money on kicking them out, get them here, garnish their wages to a certain extent, and let's bring that money back into the economy. That's the way that I see it sometimes. But then I'm also not into politics. I don't know all the ins and outs. That's just a theory in my mind. They go, if you just tax these people instead of sending them back where they came from, and we get that money back that they've never given us because they were here illegally and they were just sending money back to wherever, the country of origin, why not just tax them? Why not just garnish their
Yeah.
wages and then let's bring that money back? But again,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
an
good
opinion.
one. That's good. It's like many solutions. Me, instead of a wall, I would still enforce border security, probably with AI
Yeah.
drones, ones that are not equipped with any weapons of any kinds. But yeah, for sure, like supplement that with other strategy to not encourage people, especially criminals, to cross the border and encourage people to do that. Because
Mhm.
also my message, I live in Mexico, right? And I've traveled full South America. I don't think US is that attractive in many sense for people that do remote work, which I think
Mhm.
what should be the next steps in the economy. If you want to make good money, remote work, AI, being good with technology is probably the next way to go. For example, if you go in Mexico City, there's a bunch of people that code there and make very good salaries.
Right.
So anyway, Mark, thank you for coming in today. Where can people find out more about you?
Simply just go to my website, which is markcorona.com. That's Corona. Kind of like the virus. They tell people it's like the virus and they still can't spell it right. I'm like, the virus was worldwide. How can you not spell it right? markcorona.com.
Yeah,
Not
like the
very hard.
beer.
Or Porder.